Namaste to all of you, and I hope you all are cheerful and happy and going on. During this hard time, it's quite hard, but we have to remember to be always cheerful and be always smiling. That's the mantra to keep going. So, we are back here with the 8th episode of Tell Me Appa, and I'm very happy and I'm actually proud that I'm part of this Yantra online session going on. And the Yoga Sutra, I sat next to my father and I was just listening, but in the starting, it was quite hard for me. But this Yantra, I took a vow that I will do all the 18 hours, that's the 9 classes. So 2 have finished, and all of you, even if you are missing it, don't worry, there will be the recordings, and so you can come up for it. And I tell you, I personally feel it's very happy, and I feel it's very useful, and so I think all of you must look up to it. And today is a very great day because Shankaragiri Swamigal, who is the spiritual guru of our Swami Geetananda Giri Guru Maharaj, and it's his Samadhi anniversary, that is the death anniversary of his. So we did a puja for him. So just on this day, I'm really happy to do this Tell Me Appa show. So let's start. Well, the 8th episode, I'm going to call it Know It Now or Learn It Now, because some people might already know it. I've learnt it, so for them it's Know It Now. But for some people like me who don't know it before, we are going to learn it now. So people who have gone through the online sessions, you would have heard Dr. Sir saying that Swamiji used to say, do it now. So it's din. So I'm just modifying it to kin or lin. Okay, so know it now or learn it now. So let's start the 8th episode. And namaste to all of you who's there. And thank you for watching. And so let's start. The first question. As there is CITER as a pioneer effort in Balaji Vidyapeeth, are there any such efforts made by other educational institutions or universities? Also tell some major success stories of CITER.
Okay. First of all, one of my father's dreams was that yoga and modern medical science should come together. They should be integrated. And in the days when he was working in Pondicherry, the only place where it could happen was JIPMER. So JIPMER was the idea that he used to always keep in mind, that at JIPMER we should have yoga and modern medicine coming together. And so right from the early 70s, he started working with many scientists at JIPMER, and a lot of research was done. Then once Professor Madan Mohan ji came into physiology department at JIPMER, the connections became stronger. In the 80s, quite a few works were done, especially in Savitri Pranayama. So this was sort of the foundation of what today is happening. And we should not forget the foundation, that Swamiji's work at JIPMER and Swamiji and Madan Mohan sir's collaborative work at JIPMER laid the foundation for further work when I joined there in the year 1999-2000 in a Central Council for Yoga Research in Naturopathy, CCRYN project under Professor Madan Mohan. And then we had another project under the DRDO, Defense Research and Defense Organization, which was headed at that time by Dr. Selvamurthy, another pioneer. This all laid the foundation that CITER was formed at JIPMER thanks to the effort of Dr. Basava Reddy, and at that time the Department of Ayush. They set up in JIPMER, NIMHANS, DIPAS, and at Gujarat Ayurveda University, and also one I believe was there in Jammu and Kashmir. And they created these advanced centers which went through 4 years, but then for different reasons the government didn't continue funding them. Now it was at this point that the innovative idea at Sri Balaji Vidyapeeth came to the fore, and CITER was formed on the 1st of November 2010. And at that time I was still working in JIPMER. So Dr. Meena, she joined as the coordinator cum yoga therapist. And that is why I say that she is basically the mother of Saita, because she was there right from the birth. And later on, I joined in 2013. And from then, in the last 7 years, I have been there. So for the last 10 years, Saita has been functioning. And it is very, very innovative and unique because it is one place where in a medical institution, yoga is part and parcel of the institution itself. Now there are different institutions where you find a yoga department or a small yoga wing where there's one yoga teacher having some classes once in a while, and it has nothing to do with the rest of the hospital. However, at Sri Balaji Vidyapeeth in Mahatma Gandhi Medical College with Saita, it has been a two-way bridge right from the beginning. So I think it is very, very innovative in that way. I would say that there are a few more places now which are also doing it. For example, at NIMHANS, the National Institute for Mental Health in Bangalore, thanks to the effort of Padma Shri Dr. B.N. Gangadhar, who is the director, their advanced center continued into an integrative center today. So they have a center like that. And a few more places are doing it. But for most part, I would say, in most places you may have sort of a yoga teacher as part of the hospital setup, or somebody may have a yoga research project which is going on, but an integrated setup where yoga therapy, yoga education, especially therapeutic education, and yoga research, yoga therapy research are all happening in one place. I think Saita of Sri Balaji Vidyapeeth is truly innovative and unique, which is why internationally we have so much support with very, very eminent personalities. My dear Larry Payne is part of it, Stomaji is part of it, Dr. Selvamurthy is part of it, Lee Blaschke is part of it, Matthew Taylor is part of it, Eric Dornekov in New Zealand is part of it. The thing is, we have such a beautiful advisory board. Yogacharani Lata in Berlin, Kalavati in UK. We have Kathy Davis, one of the senior most Yogacharanis of our tradition, also there. Swami Yogananda Giri from the Gitananda Ashram in Italy is part of it. And this very beautiful support we are getting from all over the world, thanks to the innovativeness of it, that everybody wishes to see such a holistic integration of yoga and modern science. And it is happening.
Well, I may look up to it, and I hope the Saita family will allow me to enter, if it's not
Yes.
someday when I'm able to help them, rather than just being a part of it. If I can contribute my support to it someday when I have some basic knowledge.
Anybody who wants to be part of it is most welcome, because we feel that it is not just a few of us who can do the work. It is many people have to come together, and it is only when many people come together that such a thing can happen. And I believe this has to happen in many more places.
Okay, so I'm moving on to my second question. What do you feel of the generation gap? The way Ammaji and Swamiji brought you up, and the way you are parenting me and my brother now. Is it the same or is it different? What is similar and what is different?
It is definitely not the same, because times have changed. So times have changed, values have changed, facilities have changed, and even I think that people are growing up in a very different way these days. Now, when I was growing up as a kid, we didn't have access to computers, we didn't have access to mobile phones, and if you wanted to see a movie, you had to go to the theater. And there was one TV channel, Doordarshan. So either you saw it or you didn't see it. And there wasn't so much pressure. So kids could be kids at those days. People could, they could go and play. And I remember every school in Pondicherry, twice a week, 2 days in a week, people definitely had off. So it was Sunday and sometimes it was Thursday that the kids would actually be off from school. So in such a situation, the kids are more free, and in fact there was more chances of kids just going out and playing. Nowadays what has happened is, by the time your generation has come into the sort of the piece of the jigsaw puzzle, what is now happening is there's so much of pressure on the parents, so much of pressure on the kids, that it is like, if you do not study, you will not get a seat in a college. If you do not study, you will not get a job. If you don't study, and study is one very basic thing. And second thing is the way we have to run after you, that put the mobile phone away or stop watching or stop playing a game. And that is a very different one, because it's sort of more like micromanagement. Earlier it was like, okay, you came back from school, okay, dinner's in 1 hour, go out and play and do what you want. Nowadays what is happening is you are going to have to look at every minute. So I think all over the world that has changed, but the basic principles are the same. The basic principles are that it comes out of love. Discipline comes out of love. Discipline comes out of caring. So when Swamiji and Ammaji discipline me, or when party disciplines you, or I try to discipline, not much, but whenever I try, it is out of love. And I think this is the most important thing to realize, that if the parent is guiding the child and disciplining them out of love, it is definitely going to help a lot, rather than just this fixed, mentality that I was brought up this way, so you have to be brought up that way. I did this as a kid, so you have to do it. And on top of that, I didn't do all of this, so I have to make you do it. So I think one thing which I have tried is that to give more freedom in letting you people have a choice, because you have to be responsible for yourself. At the same time, as a parent, I feel we have to keep a safety net. So the safety net, I think, sometimes seems like a very tight net when you are at your age, and especially Thambi's age, where there's that rebellious spirit, I want to do it my way. So it does become difficult, and there is definitely a generational gap, and the way Ammaji sort of would like to see you people spend your time, and the way I would allow you to spend your time would be quite different. And I don't think one is better than the other. I think it is just a matter of time. But ultimately the commonality is that we care, we love you, and that is why the discipline is there. And again, giving opportunities, that trying to give you opportunities to grow and nurture your talent and manifest yourself. For example, what I would have been doing on stage, you are now doing through YouTube and through Facebook and reaching people. So people would see me perform on stage and they see you on the screen. So it's the same, the opportunity, but in a different way. So yes, commonalities are that opportunities to grow are given, and discipline is there, and that discipline is based on love, care, and of course a deep desire that you should be the best you that you can be.
Well, just talking about that, we must be, especially I am really grateful to COVID-19 and the lockdown, because it has really given me a chance to practice my singing, because we would have just gone abroad and we would just start singing. So I would have gone abroad as my father's daughter, and they wouldn't actually know what I'm going to do, maybe just part of the classes. But in this way, people know what my talents are, so then they know what I'm coming for, so I'll get more kind of opportunities to grow. So I'm really grateful to that, and all of you out there who has really been motivating me. And also thanks to COVID-19, we came up with this series Tell Me Appa. So you see, everything is
I think COVID-19, I was thinking about it, it has actually helped us understand people better. And some people who we thought are close have actually become distant, and some people who we thought were distant have become close. Yeah. So it's actually created amazing relationships. And as you said so rightly, we would have been in Italy and other parts of Europe and UK by now if we had the original plan which we were planning to do. And as you said, it's very true that it would have been Dr. Ananda's coming with his daughter. Whereas now people know you as an individual, so it's more of Ananda and Divya are coming, or rather maybe Divya and Dr. Ananda are coming.
I'm so
and then in a few years it is Divya's coming to perform and her father will tag along. So it's okay. This is part of growing in each other's light. People talk about growing in the shadow. I say it's in growing in each other's light, illuminating each other. And I think it is important, because I never traveled abroad till I was in my 30s. As a kid I was carried abroad. I used to say I was carried in and out of countries by Ammaji and Swamiji. So I went to many countries, but I never went really in that way. So I waited till I was in my mid-30s, because I felt I should travel when I have something to offer people, not just because people are willing to sponsor my travel. I think there should be that concern that you can give people something. And I think now, yes, definitely COVID-19 has enabled us to see, yes, there are things that you can offer people and that will be valued by people. So yes, a wonderful, wonderful opportunity in that way.
Okay, so moving on to the next question. From birth till now, do you have or have had any regrets for that you had a thought, if I get another chance, I would be the best? Any situations like that?
Actually, my life, I don't have any regrets. This is something which I don't really feel. There's no sense of regret because I realize how fortunate I am. I've been given immense opportunities, and more and more I realize that such how fortunate I am, and that motivates me to share that good fortune with others. So definitely no regrets. I think as a small kid there were moments where I used to feel a bit out of the place because I was the only white kid in the ashram. So when you are running around playing with other kids, sometimes I may have thought, oh, it would be nice to be a bit more darker and a bit more browner so that I fit in with the crowd. But then, as I earlier said, being white in a non-white sort of environment was my yama and niyama. So we've already talked about that. Similarly, I remember in school that all the kids, they used to go home to a pakka house. Whereas I came to the ashram, and the ashram's never really a house. Because as someone said, oh, you live in a big house. I said, no, I don't have a house. Because the ashram's not really a house in that way. Yeah. It is the space for everyone to grow. So I remember as a school kid, I used to think, oh, if only we lived in a real house, not the ashram. And I remember when the ashram was taken over, and for a few months we were living in a 3-story building in Rainbow Nagar. And I remember when I came back in the car from Kodaikanal, and as we came there and I saw that house, I'm like, wow, finally we are going to live in a pakka house. Imagine, we had lost the ashram. Kabli Swami Madam had been taken over by the government. We had lost everything. And I was actually happy I'm going to live in a pakka house finally like everybody else. So I think sometimes, you think, because it seems so easy, just be like everybody else. As I often say, just take a 9-to-5 job and then slack off. But no, it's not like that. Your life is meant to be a life of 24 hours of conscious living and sharing, where you give of yourself as much as you can. So no regrets, definitely no regrets at all.
Okay. So the last question. What is your hope for the future generation? Anything you want to convey?
I hope the future generation will realize how fortunate we are to be human, and that they will take the responsibility to live as human beings. Because the world is a mess because of us not taking care of the planet. And I hope the new generation, your generation, will make those changes. And it was wonderful to see the other day Kalavati's daughter Hamsa going out with other students as part of a mass movement. It is very nice to see that the young children who are growing up have that sense of responsibility towards the environment, towards society. They want society to be a better society where everybody is respected as a human being and not based on what color you are or what religion you are or what race you are. I think it is very important that the young people realize that all of us humans are one, and that all living beings deserve respect and gratitude and protection. And I hope that your generation will understand that we human beings are not the owner of the planet. We are the caretaker. And a caretaker means someone who takes care. So I hope that the young people will learn to take care of the planet, to take care of each other, and start to understand oneness, which is the base of Indian culture. Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam, the whole world is one family. This is the message I want the young people to take forward. And I would say that through Yoganjali Natyalayam, so many of the young people who have grown up, I see it in them. So when I see Balaji, when I see Daya, when I see Reena, when I see Lakshmi, when I see Padma, all of them, what I see, Krishnaveni, Balasundari, Vidya, Soumya, Shiva Shankar, all of them have gone into their own life. But what I find is that each one of them is consciously trying to be a decent human being within their limitations. And within the limitations, they want to be a decent human being. And I think that is the greatest success, is if each person can try to be a decent human being, which means respecting others, being grateful for life, protecting others who are less privileged than us, standing up when there is injustice, and trying to set right all the wrongs that are there in society. Because we as a human race are one. There cannot be any dichotomy there. There shouldn't be any discrimination based on anything. Discrimination is anti-human of any kind. And we must understand we are all one. Respect each other, love each other, have compassion for each other. And I think if that happens, this world will be such a better place.
Okay, so I hope the future generation, I'll try to pass it on to as many people as I can, and hope you all do it, and please pass it to the next future generation, that is our generation. So let them just know it and keep on motivating them. It might be in any way, through singing or through, better we avoid violence, but whatever through our way, like everybody has their own, like through speeches or through motivational videos or through text messages or whatever.
Or by your own living example. See, basically, how do kids learn? By watching the parents, by watching the teachers. So if we can be a good role model on what it is, the young children will get it. So your generation now is the role model for the next generation. So Hasini, Jaganand, Bala Visagan, for that whole generation, you people are now the role models. And for you, your seniors would have been the role model. So this is the responsibility, that we have to be the best role models for others.
Okay, so just to mention, the people who forwarded the questions for this episode 8. So thanking Aravinda Kotaya ji, Meena Ramanathan ma'am and Dr. Balaji sir. Thank you, and I'm waiting for the others. Well, you might not have one for every episode, and I don't expect it. You don't even have to ask, maybe it's part of what we are asking, but there is a chance, so I can help you out in some way. So waiting for it, and we'll see you soon next week for the next episode 9. Thank you, and have a nice day, and be always cheerful. Know it now, learn it now, and do it now.